Okay, everyone. Hello and welcome back to the Petal Talk podcast. I am your host, Allison Crowder, and today we have a very special friend, Quigley, here today. Hi, welcome to Petal Talk, where skincare meets soul care. Today we're going to learn a lot about an industry that I know nothing about, but an industry that I'm extremely passionate about, which is coffee and making people happy, which go hand in hand. And we're going to learn about the industry. We're going to learn about how to scale something like this. And for all my coffee lovers and for all of my, entrepreneurs, this episode is for you. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little bit about what you do, kind of your shtick.
Okay. So I own a coffee shop called Quigley Coffee Co.
Which is your full legal name?
It is my last name.
Okay, amazing.
Confidential.
Okay, yeah.
Nobody uses it except my wife when she's mad at me.
Yeah.
I don't even think my family calls me that. They call me Bubba.
Oh, that's sweet.
My family, if you get a name given to you by a child, I'm sorry, but that's your name forever.
No, that's so real.
I am Bubba. Mm-hmm. And my sisters are Melanie and Sierra, or Nini and Wee Wee.
Oh my gosh.
Wee Wee is unfortunate.
My mom is Nini in our family. Everyone, and even sometimes I catch myself calling her that because when you have small babies, they make the names, and we have all these nieces and nephews, and it's Nini. It's no longer Tammy. It's Nini. Yep. Yeah, I get that.
So yes, I do own a coffee shop just down the road from here. It opened in February, and before that, we kind of built a fleet of coffee carts. Mm-hmm. So not like a food truck. A lot of people think a food truck when they hear a coffee cart. Mm-hmm. Ours are like espresso bars. So if you can think of like a small table or even like a tool chest, like a Husky tool chest, we've built a few coffee bars out of those, so they're on wheels. You can
That's so cool.
Things and all that, because we sit here. And we had that going for like 3, but now almost 4 years. When we first started, we put it inside of a little thrift store down the road.
That's
fun.
We
did that for about a year and a half. Mm-hmm. We had one there, and we used one to move around and do weddings and corporate events and all that. And I'm married for almost 9 years. I have 2 kids. Oh. I'm 33.
Nice. Thank you for sharing.
Another intro you want, but
that's perfect.
Practically, that's me.
Okay. Okay, amazing. So let's wind back and start with you as a small child before you were given your nickname. What is your first memory with coffee, or what is your first memory around the way it smelled, the way it tasted? Like, what about it was so impressionable? Because I have a moment like that, so I'm sure you do as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. I hated it.
Oh my gosh.
I actually did not like coffee growing up. So if we're talking about my first moment with coffee where it became something a little more interesting to me, it was actually I was in an internship that was part school, part internship for about 2 years. I needed to pay for that. I was 20, and I needed a job, and the only place that would hire me at the moment that could work around weird hours was this small coffee shop in the mall.
Oh, wow.
So I got this job, and it was just regular coffee.
Yeah.
And you open the bag, and it smells like coffee and a little burnt. It's you look at the beans, and they're charcoal and oily. And we just made coffee that was really sweet, and nobody ever just got coffee there. That was kind of unheard of, and I wouldn't have either. But my friend who I was working with brought in something new that I had never seen. And we thought, coffee was weird, and we thought there was so much more caffeine in one bean versus another bean, and we would drink espresso beans as coffee, thinking we were going to get jacked up or something. But that was my extent of knowledge with coffee. It was just coffee was a drink and people drank it, and it gave you caffeine.
Yeah.
And one friend brought in, I can't remember if it was a first version of an AeroPress, which is just one way of making coffee, or if it was a newer version of a French press. Right? So something kind of in between that. And I didn't see it before, and he was I got this, and I brought this coffee from somewhere else that tasted really good, and I want to make it for you how they taught me to make it. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's just drink it and start working really fast, right?
Right.
So he made me this coffee, and it was the first time I took a sip of coffee that was just black coffee, and it didn't taste like burnt like sludge, or like some people would say like jet fuel.
Yeah.
Right. Like whatever they're like
thick.
That bitter
right.
punches. It didn't taste like that. It was like almost blueberries.
Oh.
And whatever. And I learned very quickly that coffee can taste better.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, that just like was a spark.
Mm-hmm.
And if I learn about something and I connect with one little thing, I just like dive into the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And coffee is a much larger rabbit hole than I ever imagined.
Yeah.
So it just hasn't ended. And that was almost 14 years ago.
That's so cool.
I've been in coffee since,
mm-hmm.
even throughout the internship and afterwards. The only time I've been out of coffee was for a few years right when I got married. I needed to get a better job to pay the new bills that we had.
Yeah, the life.
We bought
mm-hmm.
a house. So that was about 3.5 years of not being in coffee. I did work through that part-time in coffee a little bit. But other than that, I've been in coffee forever because of that one little moment of somebody giving me a cup.
Isn't that crazy?
It tasted not like
better.
I expected it to.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and even now, I think if I tried that same coffee, I wouldn't consider it like quote unquote good.
Sure.
I think it was just better than anything I'd had in the
yeah.
past. And just enough to give me like the itch.
Yeah, totally. Well, it gave an impression.
Yeah.
That has lasted your whole life.
Yeah.
So when you were younger, like middle school, elementary school, what were you wanting to do when you grew up? Like, what was your dream job? Like when I grew up, I want to do what?
Elementary school.
Yeah. Or did you know?
I don't think I really thought about it. I think I was like the, quintessential, I want to be a vet.
Sure.
or I want to be
a doctor.
A firefighter.
Sure,
or
yeah.
Little boy stuff. But I very quickly kind of just started having fun, I think, instead of trying to dive into all the school stuff. So we talked when we first met, and you were walking around just being the extroverted person that I know you to be after one day.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
2 hours.
Yeah.
And I just stopped you and I was like, is this something you turn on, or is this an all-time thing? And you said, no, this is just me. I just like, I run around and that's it. I don't stop. There's like the energy just keeps going.
Yeah.
And I think that is also me.
Mm-hmm.
I told you that you're the only other person I've ever met that can say it just never turns off.
Yeah.
And so that happened really fast for me. It was like elementary school, I was just this wild little kid. In middle school, I think I got shy for like a year and like looked at everybody.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
And then 7th grade hit, and then I just didn't think about future at all. I just right now is what I'm going to be and what I'm going to do. And my parents never really asked me like, what do you want to do with your life?
Sure. What do they do?
Actually, ever. So my mom is an accounting manager.
Okay.
And she has been for a long time. My dad, he's a truck driver somewhere.
Yeah.
I think he lives in Tennessee now, I think. But we don't really talk.
Yeah.
And it was actually right around 7th grade when my dad left that I just kind of, I guess, blossomed. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's correlation there.
Sure. I'm sure there's a little bit. Yeah.
Rooted things there. But
that's okay. I have the same thing too.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I kind of like bloomed, I guess. And I don't know if it was just me coping or not, but I just didn't think about the future a lot.
Yeah.
And so there was no real like, I want to do this with my life. I just kind of started living then, which was good and bad. There were some goods to it. There were some bads to it. Goods because I kind of learned to live right now. Bads because I just had no hope for a future.
Sure.
Until so I was in, I've been in church my whole life too. Well, I would say my whole life. We'll say since I was like 14, I was in church, but I didn't really care about it until I was like 18. And I think that I had some leaders in my life then that kind of pushed me and asked questions that my parents never did.
Sure.
And that started making me beg the question, like, what do I want to do? Yeah. So I was in that internship, and that was for ministry. So
nice.
Whether I was going to do music ministry or youth ministry, one of those two. And that kind of became, all right, maybe I could do something here. Like, I'm kind of extroverted all the time. I don't really mind talking to people. It was really fun to be in youth ministry because I never had to turn off the energy. I never had to be really too professional.
Sure, yeah.
So I could do that. Music ministry, I just love music. I've been playing instruments as long as I can remember.
What instruments? Or all of them?
I am better at drums and bass.
Okay.
But I play whatever's on a traditional stage.
Stop, you're so cool.
So if it's
I didn't know that.
Keyboard or guitar, whether it's acoustic or electric, bass, drums, or I'll sing. Whatever I'll do. My wife is the better singer.
Yeah.
It's like world class, and I'll just
oh my gosh,
behind her forever.
Stop, you guys are so cool.
But yeah, so I had this like idea of like, okay, let's do ministry. So I did this internship. It was
Had you already met her at this point?
Yes, we've known each other.
Okay.
She was 11. So yeah.
Stop.
She was my youngest sister's best friend.
Stop. I married my best friend's older brother.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Look at that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're like multiverse.
Literally.
Literally,
I always say, don't go on the apps. Just like find your friends and marry their siblings. It's way easier that way. It's way easier.
Marry your sibling's friend.
Yeah. Same thing. Yeah.
Just reverse the sentence.
Yeah.
So I'm doing this internship specifically so that I can do ministry.
Sure.
And I'm working in coffee at the time. But the goal was do ministry. And at the end of it, I had a lot of interviews. And I went to a conference that, like, the specific goal of the interns serving at the conference, like kind of putting it all together, was to be seen by people who need to hire. And then you set up interviews and you just, like, you're there, you're either working or interviewing, and that's it. And so I get a few offers from places not in Florida, which I never really thought of.
You're born and raised here.
Forever.
That's wild.
So, born in DeLand, and I grew up in Sanford.
Wow.
Basically
forever. You lived here your whole life.
Yep, I have.
That's wild.
So I kind of like, there's this like, do I move? Do I not?
Right. Because this is the time if I do.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, I had some good offers, all for things that I loved. So one of them was to move to Nashville.
Fun.
And I was going to be the youth pastor. And so Nashville, music city, right?
Yeah.
Youth pastor ministry. And they couldn't, because it was a newer church, they couldn't hire a full-time person. They were like, so we do have a coffee shop, though, that we need somebody to manage.
Stop.
It just sounded like this.
Like the best of all my worlds.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I really thought through that one. There was another one in Georgia, but I really didn't go because I ended up dating Miranda my wife at the time.
That's how it goes.
And I just, like, we weren't married yet, but we knew we wanted to. So at that time we had been dating for a little while. I'm like, I can't leave this girl.
Yeah.
I gotta stay.
Like, I love her.
So, and I knew I loved coffee still too.
Right.
Like, you know what? I'll marry this girl. I'm going to stay here. There's a lot more to that, but after the goal of being in ministry or being paid in ministry, I'll say, because I still do ministry with my wife.
Okay.
She is on staff at a church.
Oh, nice.
So I end up still kind of working through that with her, but I am not paid to do it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that passion that I have on this side meets like the new career that I kind of happened to find myself in coffee.
Sure.
So I just started working in coffee, went from managing that, worked in construction. Then I went back to coffee again, managing. And then from there, I just kind of grew, like stepped up the ladder because I was so passionate about it. It was like, I want to know everything I can, and I want to make coffee better than everyone else.
Where did that come from? Like, why? Just because you wanted to do a good job, or because you loved it? Or both?
Both. Yeah. So I love people, and loving people being in coffee is a great place to love people.
Yeah.
Right. Because you get like this opportunity to be the first face that they see of the day. And that's what a wonderful opportunity to change their day.
Yeah.
Right? So there's that. There's also like, if somebody comes in the middle of the day and they're just down, like, yeah, they get a coffee. But like, if you give them a cookie, you go with it, and you say like, hey man,
and a smile,
bad day,
right?
We'll just do it. And it's like this wonderful opportunity, right? And so I would kind of like, I'd buy people cookies and then just not tell them. Right?
Yeah.
Putting in the POS.
Yeah.
This cookie's on us.
Stop. That's so sweet.
It's fun, right?
Yeah.
It's nice. And,
right. It is. It really, really is. Yeah. We are constantly doing stuff like that, right? We have guests come in. It's special, right? Like, and it's similar where it's not like a luxury coffee, I guess. I don't know. I don't think it's a necessity for me. But there's a lot of times guests come in, it's my birthday, it's my anniversary, it's like I want to do something nice for myself. And it's like, you can have whatever you want, whatever will make you happy, right? Like, because we are in the business of taking care of people, and it's so special.
Yes. So you just said something that I can't let go. Like we're in the business of making that happen. And so for our business, we actually don't consider ourselves in the coffee business. We aim to be more in hospitality.
Yeah.
Just the mindset shift of that takes us from being like that coffee shop that is on all the memes where like your baristas are pretentious and
right.
like, what do you want today?
You want that? That's embarrassing.
You want to put milk in your pour over, right? It's like this pretentious barista that's angry at life and you specifically behind the bar, and it shifts it to where like our whole goal is to change like your day for the better, or to be a smile that you have. And we are not able to measure this at all. It's totally unmeasurable. But if somebody walks into our business and leaves with a smile, then we won.
Yeah, totally.
Right? And so that can like, we take that kind of to an extreme where I talk to my employees and I'll tell them like, if somebody walks into our business, they go into the bathroom and it's dirty and they come out not smiling, we lost.
Yeah.
Right. So it like kind of seeps into everything. And I know that it's not measurable. So we can't use it for a lot of things that we wish we could, because we can't just like take a picture of everybody walking out.
Right.
Like,
being happy.
Smile.
Right. But you have all those Polaroids.
Yeah. So
which are people being happy? Yeah.
So that is part of it. But our slogan, if you will, our saying is coffee is our thing, but people are our heart.
Oh, I love that.
Like people are always the prize.
Yeah.
So like we're going to be the best that we can at coffee. We're going to make sure that the coffee that we serve is better than wherever else you can get it around our area.
Which it is.
In hopes.
Yeah.
So we're going to strive for that, because coffee is our thing. That's what we do. But people are our heart.
Yeah.
And like if we can't make sure that the goal overall is to make somebody's day or to at least brighten it up a little bit, then we lost. And so we have these vibrant colors when you walk in.
It's so cool.
And
I had no idea what to expect, right? And I didn't realize, and I know we talked about this when we first met, but I didn't realize that it was so close to, I recently moved. Yeah. And so where I live now, it's like so close to me, and it's right by my husband's work, obviously, like we talked about. And so I make him go with me the next day, right? Because I'm like, we had the best time. Like I live there. It's so close to us. We walk in, and even my husband, who like he's like not like us. He's like too cool for caffeine. He like doesn't do a lot of caffeine. Yeah, I can't relate like literally at all. But he walks in, he's like, oh my gosh, like this place is so cool. He sees like the skateboards in the back, and he's like, this place is so cool. And I'm like, I told you, okay? I told you. It's such an experience, and that is what is a lasting impression, because you can find a coffee shop anywhere, right? And like sometimes they're cool, sometimes they're not, and sometimes they're chains and sometimes they're not. But what is important, and that's how we feel here, is it is the experience from the first time you walk in to the second you leave. Everything is a touch point, and everything, we call it the service cycle. Literally from when they walk in, they're immediately greeted. We're kind, we're happy, we're excited. We know them by name. We have their name written down, like it's so special. Obviously the service, and then same when they're leaving. And that attention to detail is what sets you apart. And the Polaroids and the stuff in the back and the happy people that work there, like those things do matter.
Yep. We have like incredible employees.
That's good.
And one of them, he told me once, maybe like 5 or 6 months ago, he just kind of came over to me. He's like, hey man, I just want to let you know, like I am trying to learn everyone's name. I was like, good.
Yeah.
Just because, or like, is there a thought behind it? He's like, no, I just think that people like to be called by their name more than they would say. And so like if they walk in and I say, hey Phil, like welcome in, dude. Like, welcome back. Good to see you. Like even if it's just not even like overly excited to see you, it's like they remembered my name.
Absolutely.
And even if they've been in 100 times, you just say like, Phil, good to see you.
Yeah, right.
It's like you still know, like you're a person here. That's not just a guest. Like you're a family member.
Yes.
A friend.
We have another tagline that is every guest, every time.
Yeah.
And it's the same kind of thought process of, I don't care if they come in 3 times a month, you're still going to get the same song and dance because you matter just as much, if not more, because you do come back and you send your friends and you send your sister and your whatever. And
and
it's important.
For us, like getting somebody to come in is I would say harder for us than maybe Starbucks.
Sure.
Right. Or
sure.
We call them the competitor with a green roof.
Yeah. Right.
But we it's hard for us to get people to come back being the type of coffee we are. So there's you said you'd love to learn about this stuff.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Yeah, teach me.
Kind of dive into it a little bit. So maybe there's more now. Maybe I'm a little old school at the moment.
Sure.
There is 3 like waves of coffee.
Okay.
So first wave is the coffee that's just been around forever. Okay. So coffee at hotels.
Sure.
Right. Coffee at gas stations. The coffee that your grandparents made.
Like the powder that you like put with the thing.
Scoop it out of a tin
can. Yeah.
And you put it in. You don't measure it. You don't look
those
at
are
it.
Scary.
You don't question whether or not this was freshly ground.
Right.
Like the only thing you knew was that it was quote unquote freshly roasted. Mm-hmm. Maybe. And
or it's like plastic.
Yeah. And you just put it into whatever you're going to make, and then you make it, and it doesn't matter how long it was brewed for or what temperature the water was. Like none of that matters.
Sure.
This is just purely commodity.
Yeah.
That's first wave. Second wave is welcome Starbucks.
Sure.
Income's like, yes, this is just coffee. So there are a lot of good things I can say about Starbucks being in the coffee industry.
Sure.
I will say what everyone knows, it's not that great.
I know everyone says that.
Yeah,
and like, I'm a bit too like new to like really understand a lot of it. But the more that I have, cause I moved here from Vegas.
Yeah.
There's so many coffee options because it's the food and dining capital of the world. There's anything you could ever want there. It's Vegas. There's so many options, and I learned a lot when I lived there, but then coming to, Central Florida, there aren't many options. Right. And so I have learned like living there and like having these more like artisanal kind of places. I'm like, oh, it's actually like not great.
Yeah. So
it's actually not good.
They'll say like, it's just, it's bitter is the word that they'll use. And they do that on purpose. So
right.
The second wave kind of thing is like, it's going to be consistent. No matter where you go, you're getting the same cup of coffee and you can do whatever you want to it now. So instead of coffee just being like, put some cream and sugar in there, which was the first wave. Second wave is it's going to be consistent no matter where you are in the country or in the world. With
right. Yeah.
You're going to get whatever you want in there to make it however you love it.
Sure.
Not the person next to you, which is why you can put 20 pumps of something in there. Right. Or you can get frappuccinos. And
a frappuccino.
Yeah, they have all the drinks, right? You can get anything you want in there. And that's kind of like second wave is like, we're taking coffee, what was commodity forever, and we're going to make it into something that's more user-friendly. Mm-hmm. So you can have it your way.
Yeah.
I guess that's
and like extremely accessible. yeah. Right.
So it's just, here it is. And it's not just bad. You can put stuff in it to make it not as bad. Right. And the service is going to be good.
Sometimes.
I mean, it's better now. Right. So better now. I think that after like 2010, baristas started not being allowed to be pretentious anymore. Sure. Like the stigma is there.
Sure.
But enter third wave coffee, which is kind of closer to where we are now. People have had talks of a fourth wave, but it's just so above me. Yeah. I'm kidding. But there's this third wave coffee, and third wave is like, you can have your coffee how you want it, but before you get that coffee, we're going to pay attention to the details, and we're going to make sure that it tastes good.
Yeah.
And we're going to give you something that's more of an experience, something a little better. And it's going to be all across the board good, right? So for us, we have a lot of little details that we look at. Like I was talking about in wave one, they don't care about how much water or what the temperature was or how long it brewed.
Right.
We care about all of those things for all of coffee. Mm-hmm. So when we make espresso, we dial it in every morning. That's kind of like the term we use.
Okay, dial it in.
We'd stay dialed.
Okay, we're dialed.
We're dialed in this morning. And if somebody walks in a little early, right, they sure will open the door for you at 6:55, and you can come in. But if I'm still dialing in, I just, in my heart, I can't give you this coffee.
Yeah.
It's just not.
It's not perfect. Yeah.
And so we train baristas to care about all those details. We weigh our shots.
Okay.
So we weigh how much coffee goes in. We tamp it. hopefully the same way every time. It's level. We make sure of it. It's distributed evenly.
Right.
We put the portafilter in, and then we pull the shot and we measure how much comes out. How long did that take? And then we taste it. Is it good? Does it taste salty?
Right.
Like olive brine? Does it taste bitter? The other side. Is it harsh? Is it thin? Does it have more of a body to it? Like, what's the tactile?
Yeah.
And we're kind of paying attention to all these details. What are the tasting notes that you get? Is this a good coffee that works? Or is this espresso going to work with milk? Or is it more of like a standalone? Like you should have this just as espresso, or maybe a like small Americano. Sometimes coffee can be so acidic that it'll like make your milk separate a little bit.
Sure.
Right. So like all of that, like we're looking into all of that, and that's just espresso. We do that with like our pour overs and our batch brew and all the things. So we're looking at everything. Now, if you come in and you want to get a specialty drink, maybe a Bear Hug, right? You can do that. So Bear Hug is
that's my favorite,
and agave and cinnamon, and we
it's
make
so
it
good.
in-house.
I love cinnamon,
and it's wonderful, and it's also kind of like a mocha in a way. Like so, it's familiar to people, but it's a little extra, so you can try something a little different. And we have what we talked about before, the Florida Boy, or candied orange and cardamom, like syrup that goes into your latte. It's like, so we're giving you what you want, but we're also giving you some options to have an
special
experience.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that separates us from Starbucks. We don't have a drive-through.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have 20 locations.
Sure.
We don't have the best location.
I think so.
But it's a great location.
Yeah.
Don't
it's
get me
busy.
wrong. The location that we have is great.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. We're so glad that we were able to find it and put the shop there. But we had to fight for it.
Did you?
And we actually had a guy who was running for mayor fight for us to be in that spot, because we're not Starbucks.
Right.
We don't have anything that's kind of a guarantee to the landlord that we're going to not fail in a year.
So walk me through, in talking about this, when do you decide to make the cart?
Okay.
And like, then you have a building now. Like, what does that process look like?
We're stepping back a little bit. I wanted to have a coffee shop for like 8 years.
Okay.
I wanted to own one.
In your like early 20s.
This is before my wife and I were married. We were together, but I would just start talking like, I want to own a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing the management thing. I think I could do it, but she's just not on board.
Yeah.
Like that, like
it's a big jump.
Yeah, it's a big jump to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
And it really just kind of wasn't our story for a long time. 8 years.
Yeah. Right. Like, actually 8 years and 5 months.
I told everybody for 8 years, nearly every day, you can ask Ryan and Jenna, that I was going to have my own coffee shop.
Yeah.
And I was going to do it. And it didn't matter what it took. I was going to do it. And I was waiting, and I was planning, and I was prepping in my head. I had all the details, all the thoughts, but it just wasn't happening. And one day we were hanging out with my friends, my wife and I, and we were playing this game that I hate, called We're Not Really Strangers. Okay. And it's just a card game where you pick out like level 1, 2, or 3, and you ask each other deep personal questions. And to me, that's as boring or exhausting one of the things. I'd rather be like throwing my kids in the air or something. Right. And we're playing this game, and sometimes we play the game where you'll ask one person the question, so then everybody listens to you answer the one deep personal question. Sure. And then we move on. Because you were chosen, now you get to ask somebody else the question. Sure. And somebody asked me the question, what's one dream you've given up on recently? And I was in such like a big depressive state almost that I just kind of like sat back and chilling. And everybody's kind of looking, and I just kind of waited just enough time for everybody to start talking to each other. And then I looked at the person that asked me, and I was like, I'm probably never going to own a coffee shop. Because it had been so long. 8 years of like dreaming and fighting and talking to people about it, and like trying to put my foot forward, but not being on the same page as my wife. Like, we would never do something where we weren't on the same page. Absolutely. And I just kind of like said that, and I let it be. And then the one who asked me, she was trying to like, what are you talking about? Like, this has been for so long. And I just like threw my hands up. Right. The next day, I'm on my way to work. And it's the place where I'm working at the place where I met Ryan and Jenna. And I just did not want to go in. I'm sure. I was like, I'm sad. Certain things, and I wanted my own thing so bad. I'm just like punching my steering wheel, right? Yes. And I was praying, and I was like, God, if you want me to open this coffee shop, if you want this, do something. Otherwise, I'm done. Right? Like, I'm just yelling.
Like, I need a sign.
Like, I'm done.
Right.
I'm finished here. Like, I'm just going to let this go. I'm going to be a manager forever.
Right.
And not kidding. That day, my wife calls. We're doing 75 hard.
Oh my gosh.
So, throwback now. But
strong.
we're doing 75 hard. She calls me. She's like, hey, I got to do my walk today. Do you want to walk after work? And it's like, yeah. I'd love to do a walk. It's pretty nice out. It was by the lakefront. So we go for this walk, and she looks at me. She's like, I think we should start a coffee shop. And I lose my mind. I throw my hands in the air. I'm like basically crying.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm pulling my phone out. I'm like, I'm going to write this down. I need you to sign. Right here. Like, I need
no take backs. Yeah.
Like, I can't do this. But she's saying like, we should do this. This is like right at the end of COVID. So this is like 2020.
Okay.
End of the year 2020. And we're just like, if the world goes up in flames, like we got to try. We should just put ourselves out there and do this.
That was also such a scary time too, to like reflect on, oh my gosh, like the world is literally going to end and I'm not ready yet. Like I didn't get to do all these things. Yeah.
And I think, that's definitely part of it. But she kind of brings it up, and we start dreaming on that walk. So we're walking for 45 minutes, and we're just like back and forth, like a bunch of stuff. We don't have money.
Sure, yeah, it's expensive.
Like we not the money to start it. We don't have family who's done it before.
Right.
We didn't have friends who had started businesses. We had met a few people in our church who started businesses and were entrepreneurs, but like not just a coffee shop. And they also kind of either had the money or were like worked into the business and then took it over. Sure. Those types of things. So nobody had just like flat out started a business and was able to like walk us through it. So we start learning everything we can. And a few months go by. We're talking about doing like a coffee truck. Her first idea was to do like the ice cream truck version of a coffee shop.
Oh my gosh, I love that idea.
So you drive around with like music.
With like the sounds. I think that's a great idea. Right. Oh my gosh, that's so true. Yeah. So and then you can be outside at least. Yeah.
So like go up to the coffee food truck, the coffee ice cream truck.
Yeah.
And get a coffee, or we'll drop it off at the door. We were just thinking through everything. And that idea kind of was starting because everybody was stuck at home. But I was saying, like, people aren't going to be stuck at home for much longer, hopefully.
Sure.
We'll be able to get back out into life. And we agreed because we looked at how much it costs to start a food truck, and it's a little more than what we had. So we start looking into, like, mobile espresso carts, like I talked about.
Yeah.
And that seemed like much more of an easy entry into that world. Plus we could do farmers markets, or we could do events and anything.
There's a lot of that here, which is interesting for me moving here. There is such like a community for the like pop-up world. Like the gal that does a lot of our permanent jewelry events, Charmed, her name is Hannah. I don't know if you've met her, but she her and like one of her friends, they set up and like facilitate all of these like markets, and it's just like all these businesses come together, and it's like, that's so cool. I've never experienced a community like that, and it's just been cool to watch. But a lot of people make the bulk of their money from these events, and I like had no idea that was a thing.
I love seeing it too, because I love seeing like everybody's personal touch.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like I'm not the only mobile coffee cart.
Sure. And
the people who do it, like, we all have our own way of doing it, our own special touch, and it's beautiful.
Yeah,
right? It's a beautiful thing to kind of see other people doing the same thing in so many different ways, and it's successful. Yeah, especially because Orlando is a big spot for events and things like that. So, I mean, there's enough events to go around.
Yeah, for sure.
There's enough. Everybody can make their own connections. But we start this coffee cart after talking to a ton of people. We probably sat with like 15 different like individuals or couples asking for money. Yeah. And we were doing it in totally the wrong way. We didn't even know, because we were just so new to it. Yeah. And we got a lot of no's. Actually, we got entirely no's, but mostly people who were not encouraging at all either. Yeah. So it was not even just a no. It was
like, no, this is dumb.
One guy told me that's one of the dumbest ideas I've heard.
Oh my gosh.
To just go work in Starbucks and try to get your own and make $1 million. because that's at least that would be successful, but yours probably won't.
Oh my gosh, that's so mean.
And then he had some other talks with me that made me get pretty upset, and I put my hand down on the table.
Oh my gosh.
Looked at him and kind of I
enough.
know that I asked you out for this, but there's one thing you cannot talk to me about, and that's my marriage. Right?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
It was a really crazy.
Oh my gosh.
It was insane. And
hopefully he's not around still.
Yeah, so it was a lot of those discouraging conversations.
It's because they're jealous. They don't get it.
Some really encouraging ones, even with a no, it was we kind of left with this hope, all right, we freaking got this. And that's Ryan and Jenna is a big example of that. But we were never deterred, honestly. I had this dream for so long that you almost couldn't tell me no.
Yeah.
So I heard a no, and I just heard next one,
not
try again.
Right now. Yeah. Right.
Try again. Try again.
Right.
And even though I was a little down because I just felt totally discouraged by what somebody said to me, I was I'm still going to do it.
Yeah, right. You're I don't care about your opinion.
I don't really care what you have to say about that. Actually, I just needed help to start it, and
I just want your money.
We ended up taking out a personal loan from our house.
Okay.
And because we were able to do that, it was a home equity line of credit. We took that out, and we started our first coffee cart. We did one event with it, and we lost money because I didn't know how to price it yet.
Yeah.
I thought that's going to be awesome, and then we spent more. And we should have all the stuff, and we didn't do the event well, and we almost didn't get to set up in time because I didn't know how to set everything.
Stop.
And
it's a funny story now.
Carts were just a different animal than a coffee shop.
Yeah,
and I had only been working in coffee shops until now.
Oh my gosh, you did your first event just with not practice.
Yeah,
and
I set up the cart before, but then I had to take it all apart, put it into a trailer, get the trailer there, and when I took it out, I didn't think you can't really move these things very easily. You can't just throw them in because they're not meant, espresso machines are not meant to move.
They're fragile. Yeah, and they're heavy.
I literally the cable for the electric, you just plug it in, right? The electric had just shifted over because it bounced so much and was pulling on it that all I needed to do was kind of wiggle it, and then our electric came on. But
Stop.
It took me an hour to figure that out.
Oh, I'm sure. And then you're sweating.
The wedding is almost over.
Yes.
And people are about to come over. It's 200 to 250 people.
Stop. It was at a wedding. That was your first gig?
Yeah, so stressful.
And it's someone's wedding. It's not just a market.
It's a brunch wedding.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, stress.
I was man, this is
we really made a big mistake.
This is going to be so bad if I can't figure it out. And guests were with me, trying to help me, or saying
stop.
It's not going to work. Right?
Stop.
All right, I got to figure this out. We did, and we ended up serving on
You're
time.
honestly, just have it for free. I can't even be in here anymore.
We just have a long line.
Yeah.
So we do that, and then we find this spot that kind of I walk in and I just start dreaming. It's that little thrift store I was talking about. And I walk in and there's this space in the back that's totally unused, but the rest of the thrift shop was super cute and trendy. It was an upscale thrift store where it's what is it called when it's new clothes that you sell. So nice. From Target and Uniqlo.
Just a resale store kind of.
So it was that. And then on the other side of the parking lot, they had this warehouse where you could buy more of a thrift store where it's used clothes. So there's this spot in this building and it's 500 square feet. And I'm I wonder if they would let us do this. And so I just find out how to ask. And they gave the most overwhelming yes I had ever heard.
Aww.
They let us get in there and they let us take over the whole 500 square feet. I really only asked for part of it because it's I guess we can fit our cart in here.
Yeah.
Come out. And they were just take the whole thing.
Wow.
Put some chairs, paint the walls.
Oh my gosh.
Do whatever you want. And so we were kind of able to fly off the rails with whatever we wanted to do.
Did they make you pay for rent?
Not for the first 6 months.
Okay, that's really nice.
The biggest gift.
Yeah.
And so after that they raised it. They gave us a price and then they raised it and then they raised it and they raised it. Which, that's just
how it goes.
That's how it goes. And we were so grateful for the first 6 months that it was the most wonderful start.
Yeah, it changed your business.
We're so grateful to them.
Right.
We got in there. It was 500 square feet. We spent every dollar that we had making it look really cute. And like, so you saw our shop now.
Yeah.
Super bright, super vibrant. We have like a local artist who went in and painted a mural on the wall.
Yeah, it's so cool.
And we had the same artist do the same thing in our first spot in that thrift store.
That's cool.
And it was just wild, right? We painted all the way onto the floor, all the way onto the ceiling. So
Yeah.
like, we just had this mural in the corner.
That's so cool.
We just wanted people to be able to take pictures.
Yeah. Yeah, you want it to be special, so they do post about it, and you do get that organic whatever.
Yeah, and because we like to measure smiles as much as possible.
Yeah.
As much as possible, we thought, like, let's get a Polaroid camera and let's, like, let people take pictures in this very clear picture spot. And people ate it up. And
I bet.
All filled up really fast.
That's so cool.
We just had this one spot and people would walk in and put their pictures in there. We had like 20 seats and we would pack that place out, and it would be really slow some days and then it would be really busy other days. And then there were markets at the thrift store that we would kind of work. And all of that helped us to build like systems for this like coffee cart thing. So that when we went to do coffee bar, like, events and set up our coffee bars, we were able to like minimize what we needed to bring until we kind of have what we have now. And now we have 3 mobile bars, 2 really that we move around a lot. The third one is just kind of there just in case. And we used to bring 2 coffee bars to every event.
Oh my gosh.
Set up in like a corner because we like made it set up like a coffee bar.
Yeah.
And we'd have 20 syrups, and we'd have basically bring a whole coffee shop, and realize like people don't want that many options.
It's too much. Yeah.
And so we would just like make, like the lines took forever. We had every size known to man, and we realized it's free coffee and people just kind of
simple
want it. They want free coffee and they want to go back to what they were doing. So we made it to where our sizes are 2, like 1 for ice, 1 for hot. We only bring 3 flavors, and that's so that when people walk up, they already have a hard time with 3
literally
options and milks.
Right.
And do you want it hot or iced? It's
right.
like, that's 10 options.
Right.
And so we were able to take that and like really minimize what we need to bring. And now we have this like product that we just kind of package up, and we're like, hey, we'll come in, we'll do this thing.
Yeah.
And it went from my first event not being able to work it to then like now we can send people wherever.
Yeah. Right. Do you do all the events, or does your team do them?
I don't do all the events. So we have one client actually that does like 35 to 40 events a year with us.
Oh my gosh.
That's across the country. It's not just in Florida.
Oh my gosh.
We send baristas to that. There's me and there's a barista. His name is Josh. He's wonderful. He's probably the sweetest dude on the planet.
Yeah.
Like he's everyone's best friend that they didn't know they had. And he is just a yes man. He'll say yes to anything. So like he's also a gift to whatever host there is for an event. He walks in and he can do it all.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. And he does like half of the events for that one client. And then doing all the other events around, we have some baristas who can do it.
Sure.
We'll bring baristas with us from the shop.
Sure.
But we've got like I said, we have a wonderful team.
How many team members do you have?
We have 5.
Okay, nice.
I think there is 5. And then my wife and I.
Nice.
So 7 total if you include us. And we started our shop in February after. Yeah. So how did
that happen? So you're obviously doing well with the carts and
we're building up all the funds that we can so that we can eventually get to a shop. That was the end goal anyway. Right. We started this coffee bar so that we could slowly build money to in 2 years be able to open a coffee shop. And we had that in our like pamphlet that we handed everybody that we asked money for in the beginning. But it was originally just supposed to be me working for 2 years straight as hard as I could until we could do this. And it really quickly turned into, I need more people like week 1.
Yeah.
So we get into the thrift store. We're there for a year and a half. And at the end of that year and a half, we're starting to look for locations to be able to actually like, let's get this thing. Let's get a bigger location. Let's be able to do food.
Have like a bit of an anchor.
Yeah. And like, that would be our space. Because the thrift store, it was not like we built it out. It was just, we put one of our coffee carts in there.
Yeah.
So it was like on wheels.
Right.
we had to replace the water tanks every day underneath.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like every day we're like running back and forth to the store to get more water.
Yeah.
We can't really store a lot because we only have a little fridge. So we're like packing it with milks. So that was like it was not our like intended location forever.
Right.
It was just like it was our first step. And we use that to get to where we are now by having a location where we could build our brand and build our customer base, and then having the events, which are like a more profitable thing, to like put away money as much as we could and to get an SBA loan and all that, you have to have 2 years of tax returns. And we didn't know that. So then we started trying to get 2 years. we got to keep this alive for 2 years. A year and a half into the thrift store, we actually, a bunch of stuff kind of went down, and nothing bad towards anyone. We ended up having to leave at a year and a half, which was like 1 month into looking for a location.
Yeah.
And we hadn't secured the location yet, but we had a few in mind, and one of them is where we are. And we get out of the thrift store, we close down. It's super sad. We like put a post like, sorry guys, this is our last day.
Yeah.
Like we got to get out. But like stay tuned for what's coming next. And it was like this moment where I had to really say like, we didn't fail. It's just shifting.
Yeah.
We didn't fail. It's just changing.
Into what we want.
Yeah. We didn't fail. We didn't fail.
Right. Sorry, we didn't fail.
Yeah. Right? Like, and there's like this, like it was a shop.
Yeah.
It was the coffee shop, and it wasn't our permanent one, but it was the coffee shop. And to not have that anymore and still be looking towards going to it was like discouraging.
Right.
And kind of like a big kick in the gut. Right. Like I had employees and I had to let them all go.
Yeah. That's hard.
Because
that's so hard.
I don't have enough events.
You don't have
now
a building. Yeah. Right.
Where I can keep you on staff like full time or even like a good amount of part time.
Right.
So like it's just me again.
Right. And do you have babies at this time?
Yes. So we had 2 babies.
So it's like extra stressful too, because you are kind of doing it by yourself, because I'm assuming she's with the babies.
Yes. She's with the babies. My wife has a full-time job.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we're in.
Now the pressure's on.
Now we're in hustle mode.
Yeah.
And we had always been in hustle mode since we started. That's just kind of the entrepreneur mindset. You just want to keep going. But here we are.
Yeah.
I have just events now. And I have to figure out how to make enough money to cover my bills and keep enough in our bank to where our SBA loan that we just got secured doesn't go away.
Yeah.
And we have to get this location fast because now I'm not making as much because we don't have the shop there to kind of like keep consistent income.
Right.
So now our tax returns are going to look not
crazy. Yeah.
And they're going to take away what money we were offered to open a coffee shop. So the clock is ticking. Ugh. And these people,
I bet you're so stressed at this moment.
The location we were looking for, it was a stressful time. I would go from like being totally fine if I had work to like if there was a week where we didn't have an event, I'm like
hysterical.
I'm like laying down in bed. I'm like, what's the point?
What month and year was this?
This was in the end of 2020, middle of 2022, November of 2022.
Okay.
And it was right when we started to look into our location now.
Sure.
So we find that location, we put in an offer, and we don't hear anything back for like 4 months.
Oh my gosh.
Because they just don't respond to anything.
Stop.
There's no like there's no like back and forth.
Oh.
The people who own our building live not in
Sure, Florida. Yeah, and they don't care. Yeah. And,
they weren't really sure about having a coffee shop in there because it's just a coffee shop. What's a coffee shop going to bring to the table? And like they're probably going to close. And then we had, like I said, one guy who was like running for mayor. He kind of manages the property for them, just fighting on our side. Like, no, you don't understand. Like these guys had 500 square feet in a place that didn't have a sign out front, and you couldn't get to it from the main road, and they were packed. Like they were doing it. You just got to give them a chance. All they need is a chance. And he's fighting for us behind the scenes. I didn't even know until it opened. And then they finally
thank you.
I was like, oh my goodness.
Right.
Like shout out to that guy.
Right.
We go for a few months waiting on anybody to respond to us. We're like going to buy a building in Lake Mary.
Right.
We're going to, which was actually really close to here.
Oh my gosh.
It was the old, what is it? Italian ice place, right across the street.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding.
Lily's or whatever.
Yeah.
We were almost going to buy that building and turn it into a coffee shop, but it ended up, the guy didn't want to sell it to somebody who wasn't going to keep all the equipment.
Oh.
So he wanted to sell the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to buy the whole thing. We just wanted the building.
Right.
So we lost that, and then we had nothing until finally, we just get an email from the guys who own the building we're in now, and they were like, "Let's start the conversation." And we're like, "It's 4 months. Like, how long is it going to take?"
Right.
Well, it took 14 months.
Oh my gosh.
Which was like the absolute. If we didn't sign
14 months.
So yeah, and so we had to
just buy the building.
To lease the one that we're in now. To like lease it and then get it built out. Now it's only the build out was only supposed to take 3 months. Okay. And if we look at how long the build out actually took, I feel like
they always lie about that.
If we squeeze it all together, it was 3 months.
If you squeeze it together.
But it was 14 months overall.
Yeah.
So we are scrambling I'm doing as many as I can, because here's how it works. We get an SBA loan approval. So they tell us like, yes, you can have this much money to open your shop for the build out, for all of it.
Whatever, yeah.
Working capital. And it's basically we get as much as we could.
Mm-hmm.
And our build out was supposed to cost like $70,000 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes so long to actually confirm everything. Before this is the scariest part, I think. They tell us here's how much you're approved for, and we're like, okay, how do we close on this loan? And they say you have to first sign the lease. So we have to lock into the lease before we have the money to open the shop. Right. And we're sitting there and we're kind of looking at it, and it's a 5-year lease with we could be the first to
all
sign
these
on
like
for
things.
5 years. And we're like, you have to personally guarantee the payment.
Yeah.
If you
Scary.
can't, if your business can't do it, if your business fails, you still have to personally guarantee it for a certain amount of time. And they want to take collateral, and we don't really have much. We just have the coffee bars.
Right.
And so they're like, let's take your house as collateral.
In your car, yeah.
Like,
her wedding ring.
What truck do you have? I'm like, I have a Toyota Tundra. It's old. You don't want it, please. Right? But they want all the collateral they can get.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And we can't get the money until we sign the lease. And that's terrible.
And it's all trust at that point.
We are at the very end of when they would actually give us the money based on our tax returns. So if we didn't sign
so it's literally now or never.
Then it was like the next month we would have another tax return, and they would see that we didn't make as much money as the year before because we had the shop and the cars.
Right.
And so they would have reduced the amount we could take out, and we're like, we just got to do it.
Right.
So we sign a lease, and we kind of look at each other and we're like, if we lose everything, we lose everything. Like, that's just how it, that's the risk, and we're kind of cool with it. So we signed it all away.
But were you okay with it? Or did you just know it was going to work regardless?
We were cool with it.
Yeah, you figured it out.
Yeah, we were going to figure it out.
Yeah.
We're both pretty stubborn.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can't.
Right.
We had already got all the yeses.
Right.
So
right. It's going to be fine.
Yeah. So we sign the lease. Then we get the money. And when we get the money, our build out took so long. It was right at the beginning of all the crazy inflation.
Yeah.
And our build out costs doubled.
Oh.
So it went from $70,000 to about $140,000.
Right.
And that was most of what we had out.
Yeah.
Because we thought $70,000, we only need to take out a little more than that so that we can cover have some working capital and buy equipment and stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
So now, with almost all of the money that we took out gone from just the build out now.
Right.
I have to pay my bills. I have to make enough money to pay for all of our equipment.
Right.
So that we can open as fast as possible to make money.
As soon as possible right now.
And that 14 months was the most stressful and hectic and beautiful 14 months.
Yeah.
Right? Because you see all these moments where you don't have anything. And you're praying, and you're like, help me.
Please, I'll be good.
I've got 48 hours
to
make the lease payment, which is $5,100 for us.
Right.
And we
every month
also need to pay every month. Yep.
Your space is $5,100.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's for all the people who want to know what it takes.
That's wild.
That's pretty cheap nowadays.
Right. Yeah. But your space is also like not huge.
Yeah, it's
your space is also like
feet.
okay, yeah,
But,
okay. I guess you have the back with
yeah.
the skate stuff. Yeah,
Still, that's not. It's sizable. Coffee shops are like 900, 1,200 square feet. But
Sure.
we wanted to put the skate shop in there too. And we had a guy come in and he runs that and he's awesome.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at the bills. And we just my wife writes down all the bills that we have on the thing, and she's just like, "We're gonna watch this. It's like they're all going away. Like I was gonna take care of it. We're gonna do this. We're gonna be fine." And we just start checking things off, and like we're checking them off. We've got 48 hours to pay the lease on it, and we don't have any money because we just had to pay for an espresso machine,
right?
Which is not cheap.
No, they're not.
And I'm like, I don't know what we're gonna do. And we have a rule where my wife and I cannot be stressed out about finances at the same time.
That's an excellent rule.
Yeah. So if she's stressed, I have to be strong.
Yep.
And if I'm stressed, she has to be strong.
Yep.
And it kind of
That's
works
a good
out.
rule.
It kind of works out where we just are feeling like that. Like if she's really stressed out, I'm like,
I mean, that's kind of like marriage.
Bro, like, what are you doing?
Right. There are times you have to balance.
Yeah. And if I'm stressed, she'll just like show me how all the numbers work because she's really good at that. I'm like, okay, I'm still stressed, but that was nice. And, we're down to the wire on everything. Mm-hmm. We end up doing like an extra $20,000-$30,000 in personal debt to open it. And January comes around, and we had fought the city
of this year.
Yeah, 2024.
Which is so crazy.
We had fought the city for so long on like these random little things that needed to go in. So much so that I thought the lady who ran the grease trap program for the city of Sanford was the person who I needed to tell I'm ready to open. That's how long we fought the one lady. It's like, I thought she was over all of the plans and permits. Like I thought she was who I needed to go to get my CO. It turns out she was just running the grease trap program.
Wow.
And, because like I said, we knew nothing.
Yeah.
And, January comes around, I call this lady and she comes in and it's the day of my final inspections. And we're passing all of them. And she says, "You don't have everything you need." And I look at her and I'm like,
what do you
I'm
mean?
just going to beg one time.
Right.
If we don't open, we lose our house. Right. Like we actually are out of money.
Right.
I don't have any more money.
Right.
I've waited, like it was supposed to be 3 months and just talking to you took 6 months.
Yeah.
Like she didn't approve our plans for 6 months. So we just had a building that had
vacant
holes in the floor for pipe, or like water pipes to be run to the espresso machine for 6 months.
Right.
If I walked in there for
like, this is your fault, lady.
And so I was stressed, man. It was like just a difficult situation.
Yeah.
To get through that season, at least that 6 month season where we have the building, we're paying the lease, but nothing is happening.
Oh yes. That's so stressful.
And our money is really tight.
Dwindling.
Right. And so I kind of begged this lady, like, please. And she says, okay, we'll give you a conditional CO. And then
what were you missing?
We actually never put them in. So it was a long battle.
Wait, can you tell me what it was, or can you not say it?
Yeah, I can say it. I can say it. I think the city like has my name somewhere.
This is alleged. This isn't.
This is all true. This is all real. You could say it. I fought the city. I got on the phone with the actual public works utilities director, and just started asking questions that no one could answer, not even this guy.
Sure.
And I'm like, if you can't answer the question, why am I doing this?
No, that's
this is
so
an
real.
Expense. It's not just like one expense. It's it's a reoccurring expense.
Okay.
And it was a pre-filter to the grease trap. Now, a coffee shop on its own, if it doesn't have a hood, doesn't really need much more than a 20-gallon grease trap. And we have a 20-gallon in-ground grease trap. Once you get 3 inches of grease in that grease trap, you have to have it drained. Yeah. We've been open for almost a year, and we had half an inch.
Okay, so literally, who cares?
So
is my thought.
I'm just throwing that up. Yes. But this lady wanted me to put 3 pre-filters to keep things from solids from getting in the grease trap. So it's like a super fine mesh filter, and she wanted me to put it on the espresso machine, which our type of espresso machine just put ounces of water at a time.
What grease are you even
it's just
contributing.
I guess Starbucks has their machines that they drop the puck into the water, and then so it's like ground up espresso, drop into the water line, and then goes. So they have to change theirs pretty frequently. But I explained to them like my machine isn't like that.
Yeah,
and they were like, well, what do you mean?
Right.
It's the difference between needing. Like I
3 or 0.
Trying to talk to the city about things the city would know. So I'm like, it's the difference between needing a standard wall outlet and a 220 volt wall outlet.
Sure.
Like this, you would need this, but I don't.
Right.
Like,
please don't make
Starbucks
me pay for it.
But I don't.
Right.
And so it's $500 for the filter.
Okay.
It's roughly $300 to have it installed, and then the filters are $70.
Yeah, it's just like unnecessary.
Yeah,
I would say
$70 for those filters is kind of like a pricey, especially because she wanted 3 in the building.
And you don't even need one.
I called the Orange County, and hotels have 2.
Oh my!
2.
Oh, she had it out for you.
So no, she wanted every coffee shop in Denver to do this, and I called every coffee shop owner.
That's
I knew.
crazy.
Like, what is this? Do you have this filter?
Right.
And they would say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So
that's
then I'd call
wild.
them and say, like, what happened to this? And like, I knew you would bring that up. See, I knew he would bring that up. I forgot to ask that person. I'm like, no, that's just it's just the one spot that I called. But I'm just saying, like, they don't have it, so why do I need it? And,
right.
Eventually, we came to an agreement that I don't need those.
Thank God.
But it did.
So you were able to open.
We were able to open.
Good.
We were able to. So this was like that game was played while we were open.
Yeah.
Because we had the conditional CO. So she gave us the conditional CO saying that we needed to open it. I didn't even know what those things were. I thought they went into the ground like the grease trap.
Yeah.
And apparently my builder, because it was like an additional thing that they were supposed to put in, he forgot to put them in. So otherwise we would have had them, and we would have had to replace them all the time. So I'm a little grateful that he forgot. But and they take up space. They're like this big.
Wow.
They just sit on the ground. So it takes up a lot of space in a like with little storage space around.
Yeah.
What a stress.
Seriously.
That was actually the most stress I had in the whole build out process. Like take away all the thoughts of like losing your house and your car and like what finances look like. That was the worst part, because I had to fight everybody, and not being like super confrontational of a person unless I need to be. I was like forced for months to be super confrontational, like heavily confrontational.
Yeah.
In front of people.
Yeah.
She came into my shop.
Right.
And like customers came up to me afterwards saying like, why was she yelling at you?
Oh my gosh.
You held your ground really well. And I was like, this is the last thing I would ever want my customers to have to deal with being yelled at in my shop.
Right.
Super unprofessional. But we open. We get our employees trained, and we are launching. We have 10 employees at the time.
Oh, wow.
Because we got some bad advice from now, none of those employees were bad. We had we made the best hires ever.
Yeah.
And like everybody that we hired, we loved deeply, and they did a wonderful job. But there was just not enough business to hold.
It's a lot of people.
10 people.
10 people is a big team.
And we slowly but surely, like people were moving. We let one girl go kind of fast, and then the others were like 1 day a week. And then we were just like, guys, we got to offer the hours that you're working to the people who are here looking for full time.
Yeah.
Because 1 day a week is really hard to manage.
Absolutely.
Right? If we change anything, and when you open a coffee shop, like it's just constant change.
Yeah.
Like from 1 week to the next, like you're just adjusting for like a year.
Yeah.
And we had to work that out. We did. I think that kind of just lands us where we are now.
Yeah.
Like, still working, still changing. But like the thing is, like if your plan is to like do something like a business, like you just got to keep growing, right?
Yeah.
Like reading leadership, like books on leadership or business.
What's your favorite leadership book or podcast, or where do you get your inspo from?
So that's a great question. So I tell everybody who's starting a new job to read Attitude 101.
Okay.
It's like a really tiny book, but it'll just set you up to have a better attitude with the people that are around you, especially if you're in a like environment that's not entirely like cohesive with people. It's really good.
Okay.
Really good.
I'm going to read it.
It'll kind of change your perspective. and help you out. I mean, it's super small. I think, I think it's like this thing.
Yeah.
Flipping the Switch, I really liked. If you're in the hospitality industry and you haven't read Unreasonable Hospitality, you should. Even if it's not a restaurant industry.
Sure.
It's just a really inspiring book on how to make sure that people are taken care of better than they ever planned on being taken care of.
Right.
Right. Which is like part of the reason we have the photos on the walls, right? The Polaroids on the walls. It's like people come in and it's something that they get that they can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
And it's like that nice touch that they remember forever. So sometimes people will take 2 pictures, they'll put one on the wall, they'll take one home.
Yeah.
We're fine with that.
Yeah.
It's an expense for us.
Right.
But it's a worth it expense, a very worth it expense, because people come in from everywhere and they're like, that's my friend from high school.
Yeah.
And it's like that one moment that you can't get, and that's just too good to not give your guests. But there's one more book, and it's got a yellow cover, and I can't remember the name of it, but that book would be awesome. I'm not like I can't listen to audiobooks or anything. I get distracted really fast.
Yeah.
So I have to take actual time to sit down and listen or to read books. I listened to Andy Frisella's podcast.
Oh, yeah.
After doing 75 Hard, you just want to hear what that guy has to say. And
we know all about him over here. My husband did 75 Hard as well. So, and Ryan and Jen did it a couple times. So we're all, I am not interested in doing it, but I know a lot about it.
I'd say, honestly, I will give this to 75 Hard. If I didn't do 75 Hard, I don't know if I would have been as prepped as I was to start my business.
I hear that a lot, actually.
Yeah, because I started it thinking it was a fitness journey.
Yeah.
Which I think is a common goal or misconception about 75 Hard. And after doing 75 Hard and starting phase 1 and having to do something every day to make yourself better. It was
the live hard or whatever.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's 3 things you have to add. And one of those things was I was going to do one thing every day to get me closer to opening my business. And this is while I was working at another coffee shop managing it. The same coffee shop I met Ryan and Jenna at. I'm doing 75 Hard, phase 1. And every single day I sat down and I would send one email or write out one thing that I thought would work for systems, or write out vision, or write out, I would take some time and actually do that. And because I did that, when we started our business, we were able to launch with vision and with
clarity.
And with our slogan, coffee is our thing, but people are our heart. And we had all that because I had been taking time to think through it.
And I think it teaches, from watching my husband go through it, this sense of discipline that is not that we're not all just disciplined naturally already, but there is something to be, we talk about this all the time. If I tell Ryan I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it because I respect him and I honor him. And if I tell my husband I'm going to do something and I respect him and honor him, I'm going to do it. But why can we not keep that to ourselves? Yeah. And there's so much that I've watched that, just through people around me who've done it, the discipline that you owe it to yourself too. I should respect my boss and respect myself too. Why do I promise him that I'm going to do all these things, but then when I'm telling myself I'm going to go to Pilates, I don't go? I should respect myself enough to do that too. Yeah. And that discipline is something that is hard to teach if you're not in the right mindset. Yeah. People don't want to hear that the way they're living is hurting them, right? Because there's so many justifications for poor behavior.
Yeah. Yeah, I learned a lot just having to focus on things for myself. The fitness was one side. I think that's just the fitness side was, although it was really good for my health overall.
Sure.
It's just mental, dude.
Yeah.
So getting in a constant, every day your goal is to kind of make yourself better is genius.
Yeah. It's hard.
And genuinely, without it, I wouldn't have had all those things in my head. I wouldn't have been ready to start the business as fast as I did. When we set out to that day, we were walking on the lakefront and my wife said we should start. It was 4 months later that we opened the coffee bar.
That's crazy. That's awesome though. Yeah. I mean, that's important.
That's from idea, real concept to execution was 4 months. Like that, if I wasn't doing something every day to plan for it, it would have taken.
Yeah. Who knows? So, it could take years.
Yeah. Or at least to launch it as successfully as we did.
Right. Right. So during all of this, you then also decided to have babies.
Yeah.
What has it been like? I ask a lot of times, we have a lot of women on this podcast, and I ask women a lot, like, how is it balancing babies and work? Because a lot of the times they are balancing the primary caregiver of these babies, and they're the ones pregnant, like having that conversation. But from your perspective, what has it been like saying like, hey wife, hey babies, I have to do this to like pay the bills. Love you so much. How has that impacted your business or been your motivation, or what advice do you have for working parents when they do want to be an entrepreneur?
So we had our first, we have 2 boys. We have Bear and Coda.
Stop.
So Bear is
Those
5
are
now.
very cute names.
He was 6 months old when we started our business.
Okay.
And well, maybe he was a little older when we started it. I think he was a year or so, but it was 6 months old when it when we started like really having the conversations. We weren't sure if we were going to have a second because my wife's births were really difficult.
Yeah.
But Bear was probably the easiest baby on the planet. He's unreasonably smart.
Stop.
Like, he just is. And he lives to please everyone. So if you tell him no, like the answer for him now forever is like, we don't do that. And also no one else should ever dare do that in front of him. He'll correct them. And we, having really busy lives, we tried to structure ourselves to make sure that we had time for our kids, for ministry, for the job, like
and for each other. Yeah.
Each other. So we were really blessed by some friends to have, it's called, what is it called? Called My Baby Can Sleep.
Oh, like taking care of babies or something?
Yeah, so I think it's called My Baby Can Sleep. I don't actually know what it's called. It's almost like
sleep training?
Almost like sleep training. So sleep training would say like you put your baby down and you walk away, and if you cry for 5 hours, so be it.
Just deal, which
is really tough, especially on parents who love their baby and do anything. Right. We did this My Baby Can Sleep thing, and kind of the rule is you put your baby down to sleep after like a fully scheduled day. So they wake up at the same time every day and they eat. Then you keep them awake and they don't eat again until they take a nap, and then when they wake up they eat. Right. And so my wife was breastfeeding. And she never had those like cluster feeding moments.
Sure.
Which I think for women is like a really tough.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the most exhausting. Like I could never help my wife.
Yeah.
If that was the case.
Right.
I would just have to help with whatever else there was in the house to do.
Right.
Like to support her. But we didn't have that because I think that this My Baby Can Sleep program just kind of worked for us and for Bear. From about 8 or 10 weeks old, he slept from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
You're joking.
I'm not joking.
That's crazy. And
it was all kind of because of this schedule that we set up.
We're going to have to give this to Jenna and Ryan.
They might
yeah.
Oh, he's taking notes?
Yeah. I'm like, they're in for it. So the baby's due soon.
Obviously, there's like, you make sure the baby's fed. And when they're so young, they need to be fed throughout the night too. So we would wake up at 7, or we'd feed them at 7. We'd put them down. We'd wake them up at 10, feed them, put them back down, wake them up at 1, and then 4, and then 7 again for feedings. And then we would eventually drop the in-between ones until it was 7 p.m. he was eating, 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. he was eating, and 7 a.m. he was eating. And then eventually we drop the middle one, and they just sleep through the night. And then that takes a couple months. But from 8 weeks to 10 weeks or so, he was sleeping all through the night. He just woke up to feed again, and then would go right back to sleep. And we did the same thing with Coda, and Coda was like more of a hungry baby, but still like without issues, 8 to 10 weeks, was sleeping 7 to 7. So I think that made the rest of our lives really easy. Yeah. So I don't know if I can speak to the reality of a lot of parenting because of like how ridiculously easy like ours was. Our kids slept, like Coda still sleeps. He's 2.5. He still sleeps for like 3 hours in the middle of the day.
Wow.
So when we had Bear, we knew because of this schedule between like eating and sleeping and playing, that we had certain times where we could really focus in on and do some work. And then we also had like mommy daddy time at night,
right?
Where like we would just like at 7 p.m. he goes to sleep and we can watch movies or
and have dinner alone and like have adult conversations,
and
right?
So we never really got too exhausted of having to like be up till 1. I can think of a handful of times where we've had to stay up with our kids, and mainly it was because they were sick.
Wow.
They also nowadays still go to sleep at like 7 or 8 p.m.
Wow.
And wake up like. Sometimes they wake up at 6:30, and we'll just tell them like, "It's still night. Go play in the loft.
The sun is down.
Go play." And they're like, "Okay."
Yeah.
They play in the loft together, or they'll like go back and sleep in the same bed until we wake them up. But we get up at 7.
Sure.
It's just kind of our schedule that works for us. But we knew that as they were growing, we had this time to kind of do things that we could get done while they were awake, while we were taking care, while we were feeding. And then we knew we had 3 hours in the middle of the day from 1 to 4 where they would take a nap, and that was hard work time.
Meetings, like, whatever. Yeah.
And we kind of shifted on who was watching for the day. We did end up paying for a nanny to come to our house, and it was like nothing crazy expensive. Like, don't get me wrong. Like our finances were tight, but we knew a family friend who basically for 2 years was the nanny she's like a retired, wonderful Puerto Rican lady.
Nice.
She's so nice. She would like, our kids loved her.
Yeah.
Her name was Mari, and she took care of Bear for 2 years before he went into the academy at the church Murray works at, so that he could kind of be in like the 2-year-old class. And same for Coda. Like she watched him for 2 years. So we were able to go to work and then come home, have some hours with our kids before they went to bed at 7, and then we'd have like adult time afterwards. So if we ever needed to even invite people over for dinner, we could have dinner all together at 5:30, and then our kids went down at 7, and then we were able to like have meetings at our house or just hang out with our friends at our house. Yeah. So bringing people to our house happened more often, or being earlier to people's house.
Yeah, you have to.
We'd have to leave at like 6:30 or 7 to go put our kids back to bed, but this schedule really helped us to.
Okay, good to know.
Ourselves.
Parents out there.
I mean, it is entirely difficult. I can't say that it's for everybody. I absolute respect for every parent on how they raise their kids. My kids just happen to love sleeping now.
Oh my God.
At 1:30 will be like, go night-night. I want to go night-night. And take a long nap. And like, it's a breath of fresh air in the middle of the day while I have 2 kids running around while I'm trying to do something for my 2-year-old to go to sleep, and my 5-year-old will just kind of like, can I watch YouTube while he's sleeping? He doesn't really
quiet
get time otherwise. So like have fun, watch your TV, and I'm gonna like type away on the computer a bunch of emails. And it just works for us.
Nice. So I love that though. Yeah, seriously.
My wife, honestly, okay, so to speak to my wife a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about her.
She has more capacity than anyone I've ever met in my life. She can handle more things on her plate than anyone.
Wow.
She like learns about everything more than she needs to, and asks the best questions, the most direct questions to get the best answer possible, like on a dime. So like she's the smartest and like most driven person to do anything. So I also think without her, it wouldn't have been as easy as it was. She just deserves at least that little shout out for all of that. But like together, we've done everything together. Like I said in the beginning, like we would not dare do anything without being on the same page. She's like the actual like dream partner for anyone. I just happened to marry her. Yeah,
lucky you.
She said yes. Like,
yes. Oh my gosh.
She'll be like, thanks for taking out the trash. I'll be like, thanks for saying yes when I asked you to marry me.
Stop. That's so sweet. Oh my gosh.
I'll do anything you say now.
Justin's already in trouble. He's never thanked me. I'm going to have to yell at him after that. That's really nice.
I'm really sorry. Justin, your mustache is amazing. I don't know if you still have it, but when I watched the podcast, I just couldn't stop thinking how beautiful you were. I'm going to say that right to your face the first time I ever see you in person.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a bit much. It's thick. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, he never thanks me, so he's already in trouble. I'm going to have to shoot him a text.
Heart of hearts, he does. But now he has the opportunity to tell you.
I will be texting him immediately after this. Okay, well, what's next? So you're here for almost a year at this point. It's December. The year's pretty much over.
Yep.
What's happening next? Is it multiple locations? Is it different cities? Are you guys going to stay in Florida forever? Probably. What does that look like?
Yes. We are currently in exactly the place where we're thinking about what's next. We don't really want to get outside of catering with our mobile bars because it is just a really fun thing to do. We get to, instead of having people come to our shop and like bring their family, because if you've ever been to a coffee shop that becomes yours, whenever your family comes into town, like they gotta go to your coffee shop.
Yeah.
Right? Now we get to go to their things.
Yeah.
So like our customers, they get married and we get to serve
That's
them.
so cool.
So we go to their family instead of them bringing their family to us. It's like a special thing.
Yeah.
And then more than that, it also is very profitable because it's the events industry.
Yeah.
It's different. And so that helps us to pay our bills as a very small business. So we don't want to get out of that space. We want to grow that space. Our shop is continually growing and we're learning a lot about the customer base that we have. And when we found out how much our customers love to learn about the coffee side and how much different it is than the other spaces that we've had in Sanford for a long time, we kind of learned that they like different coffees and like variety. And so our adjustment there is that in the beginning of the year, we're going to be roasting our own coffee.
Nice.
So we bought a roaster and it'll be here sometime in January.
Nice.
Q1 starts the new venture of
yes.
roasting. Once we lock that down, we're going to start talking about the, possible more locations and bringing in people to help us kind of manage those. And we've got great employees now, so maybe they'll kind of take over those. But
yeah,
those are all possibilities, but they're kind of endless. Our eyes are open, and we will never say never.
Yeah,
we'll never say no to anything unless the answer is no. Right? Like
Do you have
yes until the door closes?
As you should.
Yeah.
Do you have carts in church every week?
No.
Okay.
No, we did through the 14 months where we didn't have a shop, but we were opening one. We did set up every week there to kind of have some recurring income, but we don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
We just have the shop and it's open 7 days a week.
So long term, like what is the biggest, like where do you want to see it as like its end game? Multiple locations? Do you want to see it as a franchise?
So when we started, we kind of said we would be like Central Florida's coffee shop, right? It's like actually on our vision to have to become number one in Florida.
Yeah.
However that is measured, whatever awards we need to win to like have that out there. But that's on the goals. And I think you need to have multiple locations in order to get people to know you more. Right? Like we've seen other Florida-based businesses kind of grow into franchise models. When I've seen that happen, I've also seen quality reduced.
Yeah.
And we want to avoid that as much as possible. So I don't know if franchising is on the table right now. Maybe it is in the future because we won't say no until the door closes.
Right.
But right now, our goal really is to just kind of master the systems. Our shop is still just under a year old.
Yeah.
Our goal now is to master the systems so that if we do open a second location in the near future, it just starts running.
Yeah, copy paste.
Like we take it here, we put it there, and it still works. And then we just see like what the difference is in people from both shops, and then adjust and then move forward. So, yes, we want to have multiple locations. Yes, we want to grow this thing. This has been passion. It's my namesake.
Right, literally.
I lost that. That was Miranda's idea.
Okay.
Like I did not want to name it that, but I lost because she talked to a friend of ours who's in marketing, who grabbed me and verbatim
it's extremely unique.
Your name is Quigley, you moron.
Literally.
All right, I get it. My bad.
Right.
So, letting it go fully is not an option.
Sure.
But, well, maybe it is. But it's
we never know.
Yeah. So we want to grow it. I mean, this is what we do. This is what we're passionate about. We want to see all the sides of it grow. The coffee, like roasting coffee side, not wholesale, but like we want to get coffee to people who love coffee and want to try some things that are good and different. And then the catering side, we love to see grow. I just talked to Miranda a few weeks ago. Like we might just need to have like a warehouse set up in Miami somewhere because we do so many events in Miami now.
Really?
That like we should just have some things set up down there.
Do you think that would be the second location?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't like Miami that much.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of potential to grow our catering side there. So that's really like Miami is such a travel spot that I think doing events down there would be really good.
I think so.
But there's so much that goes on with coffee shops down there. There's already a lot. I wouldn't want to just like jump into being another one.
Yeah.
Maybe it works out, but I don't.
Sure.
That hasn't been a thought yet.
Yeah.
Maybe you just implanted it.
Yeah.
But
maybe. Where do you think your next location will be, though, realistically?
Somewhere in Central Florida.
Sure.
Right. So like Orlando-ish.
Sure.
We all say Orlando. When I tell people where I live, when I'm out of the state, I say like Orlando-ish, and they know where it is.
Yeah, that's what I say too.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like
maybe Orlando's far.
Maybe as close as Lake Mary. Maybe you know, on the other side where there isn't like we like our goal is to be as hard as it is to do this because Starbucks is so accessible.
Yeah.
So like so much of a known name. Like we kind of want to be in a place where people don't know this type of coffee yet and get to have their experience for the first time.
Sure.
Like I did at the coffee shop that I worked in first.
Right.
I had that like experience with coffee.
Yeah.
And there's like, that tastes like blueberries. How did that happen? Like to give people that experience is like our dream. So maybe somewhere that there isn't a lot of coffee yet, even though that's not, even though it might not work out as well as if we put it in a really, really, really busy downtown area.
Right.
There are still really great locations in places where people haven't yet or have yet had the experience. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I said that right, but
yes, you did.
You get what you get.
Yes.
So
yes.
That's maybe the thought.
I ask almost everyone this, but what advice do you have for someone who is in a similar position as you, like 8 years ago or however long? Mm-hmm. They have had this passion project in their mind. They've seen it. They've written it down. It's been on the vision boards. Yeah. But they're nervous. They're scared. They don't have the money. Like, what is your advice to someone in that position, as someone kind of on the other side of it? What advice do you have?
Yeah, don't take no for an answer. The hardest part about the whole thing, starting the whole thing, was getting a no and then still moving forward, right? That's when you're starting, at least. If you're starting, like tomorrow, you have all the ideas and you're ready to start, and you like, even if it's a coffee bar, right? Just don't find somebody that's like down the street from you that has a coffee bar. Maybe ask somebody, like look up Texas coffee bar.
Sure.
And then ask somebody in Texas who's going to be more willing to answer the questions that you have, not somebody who's going to look at you immediately like a competitor. But ask the questions. Don't be embarrassed to talk to people. Don't be embarrassed to ask questions. I think that's a big thing too. You're embarrassed to ask questions because you're afraid of getting a no. Right. But like no's don't really mean anything if you're going to start this thing. Right. You just gotta keep moving. Every hit you take, you just get back up and you keep going. If you can't do that, then the doors all close. Right. Or there's a door just past that one that you gotta look to open. I think the hardest part about being a small business owner, an entrepreneur, is just having the grit to do it no matter what. Yeah. And as much as it sucks to hear that. And it's not that glam. And I think that Ryan and I talk about this all the time, that it's this like entrepreneur online, like aesthetic that, you just like travel first class and you're so busy and you make all this money. You're not making $10,000 a month starting out. Yeah, that's not how it goes. And I think that that's a big misconception for a lot of young people. And I think they think, oh, I want to grow up and I want to own my own business. And it's like, yeah, but are you willing to do all the events by yourself and give up your house and not see your kids? Like, really, what does that commitment look like? Yeah. It's hard. Like that. And for me, so the only part that was hard for me in raising my kids was not seeing them as much as I wanted to, because I took on the client pretty early on in our carts that had us travel all over the country. Right. Now we're only gone like 2 to 3 days at a time, but there's 36 of them. But still, yeah. So, and that's more than once a month. Yeah. It can be difficult, but I mean, all of it is because like, this is the passion. This is the goal. We have vision. We know where we're going, and whatever it takes. Yeah. Literally whatever it takes. Now, there are some things there are some things once you get to a certain point and you can grow, you stop doing
right.
so that you can spend more time with your kids.
Right.
Right. I don't do all of our events anymore so that
right.
I'm not gone 3 months out of the year.
Right.
Especially having the shop now too.
Right.
But I mean, in the beginning, I was gone 3 months of the year.
Right. Because who else is going to do it?
I was having one person run the shop while I was gone. It was like, you just like, you put in the hard work.
Right.
And whenever things come, you just can't be afraid. Oh, you can't be afraid to adapt either. So if like the answer is no, but like it was a good reason for the no, you can adapt and switch,
right.
like change gears a little bit. It's like whatever it takes. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. I guess for me, that was like the biggest part of getting this whole thing started was just like, you don't like, if you can't get an SBA loan right now, fine, I'll do whatever I have to get
right.
one in 2 years.
Right.
Like 2 years is no time compared to having to wait 8 years to even have the yes
right.
to start.
Right. And I think too, if this is something that you're really passionate about and this is something that you really want, you're not going to stop, right? And if you don't care and you're like, fine, I'll just sell it or I'll just close it down, like who cares? Then maybe you did it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And that's okay too.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and I think you can start a business and then after a little while sell it.
Right.
That's totally cool.
Right.
And like maybe you started something. So for me, I have a lot of passions, right? Like I do play a lot of music. I do a lot of, I can listen to one informational podcast about cows and now I want cows. Right? Like now I'll learn everything I
right.
about getting a cow.
Right.
Like you can do that and you can change, you can shift as a person and with your passions. So if I started this thing and then suddenly I want to, like everything shifts and I want to sell it and I walk out, selling it for however much, I walk out with that money.
Right.
Like you still did something
right.
that bettered yourself and people around you, and you walked out pretty well.
Right.
You could do that, but that's not every. So
right.
you got to be also willing to have it fail.
Yeah, that's a risk.
And then get back up and keep going.
Yep.
That happens 100%. To a lot of people as well.
It does.
And if it happened to me, it happened to me. Right? Like we would have just got back up and kept going. Now, would we have started again? I don't know. We weren't. Yeah. That wasn't our story.
Right.
Very fortunately, and we're super grateful. But it could have been, and we would have just got up and kept going. I would have went back to construction if I needed to.
Yeah.
I would have found another job if I needed to.
Right.
Until it was time to do it again.
Right.
Because after you do it once, there's just no going back.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully that never happens.
Yes.
And that you'll be open for many, 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 many years.
Yes.
And that you'll put your next location a bit closer to my house. There's not a lot going on over there. I can talk to you about logistics later. Okay. And obviously the event was so fun and everyone loved having you. And I am excited to see your growth because I do think you have something special and you don't always get to see that. And so I'm glad that you were able to be on the pod and to meet all of our guests. And you'll be our first and most favorite vendor for all of our events moving forward because you're just great and your company's great. And I'm just so excited for you guys. Seriously, of course. Oh my gosh, it was my pleasure. It was my pleasure. Well, that is kind of it. Do you have any other final thoughts, comments you wanted to share? Okay, amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was such a treat. Plug yourself. Tell everyone where they can find you, where your store is at, if they can order online and pick up or whatever. Like, plug yourself. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yes, so Quigley Coffee Co. You can find us on Instagram at Quigley Coffee Co. Our website is quigleycoffee.com or quigleycoffeeco.com. That's where you can book an event with us. You just fill out a form right on the front page of the website. We are on 1730 Reinhardt Road every day, 7 to 5. If you want to come through, the skate shop is open 12 to noon.
So cool.
12 noon to 7. So a little later than the coffee shop. And we're a lot of fun. So
it's so cute over there, guys.
Come over and we hang out.
It's worth it.
It'll be a good time.
Amazing. Yes. Well, thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for listening or for watching. And we'll see you next time. Bye.